Welcome to the Community Engagement Initiative webinar series. My name is Rachel Gonzalez Martinez, and I am excited to be the host for our webinar today. The Community Engagement Initiative is a 5-year effort intended to strengthen the system of support by building the capacity of school districts to authentically engage their students, families, communities, as well as one another. This includes identifying effective models of community engagement, building the capacity of families and educators, as well as building trusting relationships in order to have difficult conversations that focus on our students. For the past year, our work has focused on identifying effective models of community engagement and addressing the 6 core causes found to hinder authentic community engagement. This webinar series has been designed to support districts from across the state by focusing on practices that directly address the 6 core root causes of ineffective engagement. Today, you will learn how Oakland Unified School District and Upper Lake Unified School District are working with their students, families, staff, and community partners to address the core root cause of lack of inclusivity based on race and culture.
Thank you for joining us for this webinar hosted by Oakland Unified School District and Upper Lake Unified School District for the initiative, Community Engagement Initiative. I would like to go ahead and get our partners to introduce themselves. My name is Dr. Anous. I'm the Superintendent of Upper Lake Unified School District.
I'm Stephanie Wayman, Assistant Superintendent of Upper Lake Unified School District.
I'm Fawn Rabe. I'm the Education Director for Robinson Rancheria Pomo Indians of California.
I'm Joy Marks. I'm the Education Director for Hebemital Pomo of Upper Lake.
My name is Benai Kim Cromwell. I'm the current Chairman of Robinson Rancheria Pomo of California Indians.
My name is Sarah Nuno Villa. I'm the Family Community Engagement Specialist for Oakland Unified.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Lally. I'm the Community School Manager here at Oakland Unified at Frick United Academy of Language.
Thank you all for joining us. Today we're going to be focusing on the lack of inclusivity based on race and culture, one of the 6 root causes of effective community engagement.
So we're going to start off with Oakland Unified, just a little bit of information. In Oakland, we serve 81 OUSD schools, not including charters. We have over 71% of our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, which makes us a Title I school district. And here's just a map, a layout of both our OUSD schools and our charter schools. We have an extremely diverse group of students here in Oakland. Our largest is Latino and our second largest is African American. We also have a lot of diversity in terms of language. For English speakers, we have about 49%, Spanish speakers 32%, Cantonese about 4%, Mom speakers almost 4%, 3.6%, followed by Arabic 2% and Vietnamese 2%. Here is just a rundown of the Oakland team for the CEI Collaborative. It's comprised of the Office of Equity out of OUSD, Frick United Academy of Language Middle School, Alameda County Office of Education, and the Oakland Reach, which is a parent and community-led organization.
We're going to introduce a little bit about Upper Lake Unified School District and where it's located. We are located in Lake County. It's 2 hours east of the coast. We're 2 hours west of Sacramento, northwest of Sacramento. We're 2 hours south of the Redwoods, and we're 2 hours north of the Bay Area. So we can get anywhere we need to go and be back in time for dinner. We still have 7 indigenous tribes that call Lake County home, and 4 of them still have land here as a land base. This is pictures of Upper Lake, the town of Upper Lake. It is small. It is Main Street. It is the kind where you can leave for 5 years, come back, and not much has changed since. And everybody knows everybody, but it is our home.
Part of our community engagement initiative involves casting our net broadly. We have a lot of partners that have helped us with this work, some of which are on this webinar with us. We have Education Director Fawn Rabe from the Robinson Rancheria Pomo of California, Joy Marks, Education Director of Hebemital Pomo of Upper Lake, and Benai Cromwell, the Chairman. We have also partnered with our local Lake County Office of Education, as well as some students, and each of our school sites have representation to help us make this work carry forward. We are also very fortunate to have the support of our local school board and our focus on engaging our community.
So when we look at our different school districts, Oakland is a large urban district serving over 35,000 students with upwards of 80 schools. And that doesn't even include some of our business offices. We have an approximately 55 square miles footprint as a city in California, and we have an extremely diverse language population. And then our focus with this initiative is focusing on our African American population.
Upper Lake, contrary, is a very small school district. We have approximately 855 students, approximately 81% free and reduced meals. We cover a large geographical footprint nestled on the north shore of Clear Lake, with 1/3 of our footprint composed of the Mendocino National Forest. Our district and all 4 schools are within 50 acres of land and within walking distance of each other. Our community engagement initiative focuses on our Native American population.
So our commonalities is simple, that the fact that we're addressing the African American and Native American that shares common struggle. Neither one of the population chose their current destiny. I describe it as one, their land was stolen, and the others were stolen to come to this land. And in that capacity, they suffered similar, in a way, a little bit different, but similar, their approach to education, segregated school for African American community and boarding schools for the indigenous community. There is a generational negative experiences and trauma that they've experienced through these years that leads us to build trust all over again. Another commonality we have together is the fact that we were able to build local curriculum that is based on Native American history for the local Poma tribes residing in Lake County, and African American male achievement curriculum that is being also more developed for the Oakland Unified School District. The collective local strategies, we came out with 3 nuggets, if you want to think about them this way. Listen to your community, do the work, and produce a tangible product. In the next 40 minutes through this webinar, you'll see how that is done.
So in Oakland, we are really proud of a deep and rich history of political activism, and we're highlighting Fred Hampton, who served as a chairman of the Black Panther Party in Chicago and was a leader in the movement for Black liberation. The Black Panther Party was founded in Oakland, California in 1966. I'm highlighting Fred Hampton because he really believed that while he was fighting for Black liberation, that it was important to have solidarity with other marginalized groups who were being oppressed, and started the Rainbow Coalition, which was a multicultural coalition. In Oakland, we are focused on the African American community, along with other subgroups. But for this purpose and for this project, we really want to lift the need to focus on African American community. I'm just going to read this quote from Fred Hampton. "We've got to face the fact that some people say you fight fire best with fire, but we say you put fire out best with water. We say you don't fight racism with racism. We're going to fight racism with solidarity." So while we're focusing on 2 specific communities in this presentation, we just want to lift that it doesn't mean we're not fighting for justice for other communities that are also struggling. So in Oakland, we have a unique department called the Office of Equity. And here we're listing our targeted initiatives. We have African American Female Excellence, African American Male Achievement, Asian Pacific Islanders Student Achievement, and Latinx Student Achievement. And here we have a QR code. So if anyone is interested in just learning more about a department, what we offer, the type of work we do, we have a QR code here for you to scan. Our oldest targeted initiative is African American Male Achievement. It was started back in 2010 under Superintendent Tony Smith, led by Chris Chapman. We started out in only 6 pilot schools, and now we currently serve students in over 18, which is great. We've adopted something called KEPRA curriculum, which is tailored to our African American Male Achievement Program called Manhood Development Program. It's been a highly effective curriculum to use with our African American male students. The objective of this program is to decrease suspensions and increase attendance, to decrease incarceration and increase graduation rates, and to decrease the opportunity and achievement gaps and increase literacy. In this presentation, we're going to share information from the Office of Equity around our targeted initiatives that are going to cover student, family, and community engagement, the Racial Justice Task Force, parent-teacher relational home visits, and affinity committees. So something that we're really proud of in Oakland Unified is that we just finished our second year of having our Racial Justice Task Force that is centered in the Office of Equity. One of the main things we did is to establish some core anti-racist workshops for our staff who are working in OUSD. And we've actually been able to start to integrate many of these core workshops into our Keenan online training system for staff. So anyone who wants to come and work in Oakland Unified will go through these trainings and really understand what it means to be anti-racist and to work with our students of color, particularly our African-American students in Oakland. We have some policies supporting racial justice and equity in Oakland that are guiding our practices and our work. So I'm just highlighting three. We have the inequity policy, which is in working on administrative regulations that will basically guide OUSD staff for how to do the work of unlearning white supremacist way of thinking and operating and starting to decolonize our thinking around how we work together and how we serve our students. We have a policy called the George Floyd policy that was an initiative led by the Black Organizing Project. And basically it was a movement to remove police officers from our school and to really think of a more restorative way to work with our security officers in Oakland. We also have a Black reparations policy. This was organized and led by community and pushed for by community. So these policies will help continue to guide Oakland Unified in how to be anti-racist and how to better serve our communities of color, and particularly our Black communities. OUSD also has a new district level affinity committee. We have a very rigorous parent-student advisory committee structure at our district level. This was really pushed for by members of that parent-student advisory committee. They wanted a space where Black families and students, staff, and community could really come together and have a conversation about what they believe Black students and families need. Parent Leadership Action Network, which is a partner organization, community-based organization, supported the formation and structure of this committee. It is completely parent-led and community-driven. They have also submitted recommendations for our LCAP, our Local Control Accountability Plan, which are linked here in the presentation. We are also supported in this movement by our County Office of Education, Alameda County Office of Education, specifically through the Family and Community Engagement Network. It's a collaborative which is comprised of Alameda County school districts. This is a place where we come together to share tools and promising practices across the county. We've been working together for about 6 years now. Our focus is racial justice and equity within our school systems. One of the things we've done is really study tools like the Courageous Conversation tool and how to really analyze district data and incorporate intentional strategies and practices into our plan, into our LCAP. Another strategy that's actually our oldest strategy in terms of building relationship and really trying to build trust with our communities is the implementation of parent-teacher home visits. This is now a district-wide strategy, which we're really, really proud of. Teachers are really excited about this, and we are constantly getting requests for training and support. So central office, our department provides those trainings to all teachers before they actually go out to do the home visits. Our focus for these parent-teacher home visits are to build relationships with families, and that's really the focus of this strategy. We work on resetting mindsets on why home visits are conducted. So moving from more intervention to relationship building. Central office provides funding for this, and that's really helped us take this to scale. We're able to pay teachers for the extra time that they're taking out of their day to build these relationships. And that's been a really effective strategy to sustain this long practice.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm Jamie Lally, and we are Frick United Academy of Language and Home Visits has been this district supported program that we really latched onto strongly to support our school community. And if you take a quick look at our fast facts, you'll notice that we have a very, very diverse community with language and culture and ability. And so what we realized is that very often the communication structures that are set up by school districts are dominant culture focused, and they're not always culturally and racially inclusive. And so what we realized for our community, which is strongly BIPOC, almost 100%, is that we really needed to meet families where they are to engage them effectively. And we leveraged home visits. There was a lot that we were helping our families learn through with a very steep learning curve, especially during COVID, but we knew that we couldn't get them there without relationships. So we made sure to leverage that practice strongly at our school to make sure we were building trusting relationships with our families in an effort to increase engagement. And so we did over 600 home visits as a school site throughout the course of this academic year. So our goal was to be, while we had to be physically distanced, was not to be emotionally distanced, because we knew we needed to make real and tangible connections with our families, and home visits were a way for us to do that. And you can see pictured some key staff members participating in those visits. So like I said, 600 plus visits were done over the course of the year. And you have to understand that those were really specific touch points for families so that we could engage with them in a space of listening, so we could learn what we needed to do next to make sure our families understood all of these school processes, especially related to COVID. But it was really important that we sat in a space of listening and learning for our families. So I want to lift up that it was not one person's work. You saw a handful of our staff pictured there, but it was everybody's job to be a part of our engagement team. And so you can see from school principals to teachers and everyone in between, it's something that we were all tasked with. Lifting up some key community partners that we work that support different aspects of our community, from African American males, our after school program. Unity Council has a specific focus on the Latinx community. On our EBAC program, East Bay Agency for Children supports all of our youth with behavioral health. So when we sat in this listening space with our families, we realized there were some key areas that they really weren't certain about. And so we developed a question and answer series to help address that. And while in non-pandemic times, this would have happened in person, we quickly pivoted to virtual learning spaces in order to do that. But what we did do was structure those learning spaces in a way that was very culturally responsive. We wanted to make sure that we set them up in ways and formats that our community would feel more engaged by and feel more attached to. So instead of doing long information dumps and then sending out a slide deck later, we really tried to create a space for conversation with the question and answer model. So short content and a long space for question and answers that families were just in the space and open to have their questions answered. So sometimes that meant that we might do a rotation a couple of times in different languages in the same space, but we really wanted to encourage conversation because that's what our community feels most connected to. So you can see the topics here on the screen. They range from some things that were our new online platforms around attendance or enrollment or even our health screenings. We really wanted to focus to be the structure so that families could effectively engage with the information, engage with us, and understand what we needed for them to do next. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our Upper Lake partners.
Hello. So with Upper Lake and the Native American communities located in the school district, it was very important for us to build that connection with our tribal families and the schools. There was a lot of historical trauma that our parents and grandparents raising our children have, that it was very, very important that the tribe's education directors made that relationship with the schools. We started with building that connection. Then within years, we started our NAC, which is our Native American Action Committee, and that is staff from the schools, education departments, and students and parents in those communities. We've moved the location to better address our population. We went to our tribes, we've held it at schools, we've changed hours, everything to make it accessible to them so that their voice is heard. They've brought issues to the tables. We made action and showed them we're not just here. We're not just listening and it's out one ear. We're making changes. They're really being heard. We started at the school Wolfpack, and that is for our Native American students. They have a place to go to talk, to support each other, to be heard. And then we also started the Native American clubs at the high school and middle school. We've started staff cultural awareness days and partnered with site leadership, also LCOE Tribal Youth Education Collaborative, and we have county level meetings for professional development and countywide trauma-informed trainings.
So Upper Lake as a district is a very young district. We have unified in 2016. We used to be comprised of two separate districts. Again, going back to our geographic footprint, we are right across the street from each other. So our unification really took on a greater connection with our community. Our goal was to embrace our diversity and, as is evidenced in our presentation today, include all of our community partners, both from the county office to our local tribes to all of our diverse student population. We have a large underserved population with approximately 81% free and reduced lunch district-wide. Our population is comprised of our Native American population, which is the focus for today's presentation, our English language learners, students with special needs, as well as socioeconomically disadvantaged students. We have many students, as Fawn mentioned, being raised outside of their parental unit by grandparents, by friends, by neighbors. And our job as the district was to really build those relationships, not only with our education directors, but with each and every family to restore some of that trust. We have done this through our action committee and making sure that we're addressing our local policies, our Indigenous Peoples Day, and some of the other events that we have embraced as a district and honored for our students to make sure that their diversity and their history carries forward.
Thank you. One of the things that we've done is created the Wolfpack. That was myself. I'm an educated sociologist, and so they taught me how to be a change agent. And so I had to come home to my community and make those necessary changes and be the change. So I was, the quote, "Be the person that you needed when you were younger," really resonated with me. And so I started a Wolfpack, which is a circle, a healthy circle, where we make connections, cultural connections. And I let the students know how important they are at this age in their learning, because they're going to be our future leaders, our future fathers, our future mothers, and aunts and uncles. So that was the Wolfpack, just to be a healthy circle. Another arm became the Native American Club. That allowed us to go places, because I wasn't as student or I wasn't a part of the faculty. So we have a faculty member, Miss Lochner, came in, and so she's able to allow us to a Native American club and gave us so many more options than just at the circle. So I just wanted to say these are some of the positive changes in our students that they have support.
We felt it was very important that all staff in the district understand there's more than one tribe. In the school district, there are two tribes located right down the road from there. Children reside with their aunts, uncles, and they could be from another tribe around our lake. So we thought it was very important that we brought in cultural awareness for all staff of the school district. And we talked about our local history, the generational trauma that our grandparents have when it comes to raising their children and sending them to the school district that they were brought up in and that they were treated poorly in. So it was very important to us that we reached out, we brought in people to share our culture and share with our staff of the school district, so they got a better understanding, and there wasn't so much judging. It was more understanding. a lot of teachers after this reached out to myself and Joy, and we've brought more into the classrooms regarding our history.
So from that training, the collaboration between the Upper Lake Unified School District and the local tribes actually became the platform for other tribes, and at a county level, we began collaborating with Lake County Office of Education, tribal representatives from other tribes, and the local school districts to better support our Native youth.
Part of that support came forth in communication and a curriculum. So a few of our education partners partnered with our Lake County Office of Education and created Lake County Strong, the opportunity for our school district to not only provide that curriculum, but to provide the voice and the history to make sure that the stories and the great cultural connections of our community carry forward, and that we have standards aligned, integrated curriculum that can be presented kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And we were very fortunate to provide the language, the art, the history, the science, the English language arts, and math focused on our tribes.
So our county has 2 local community colleges within our area. Fawn and myself began hosting field trips to these events that the local community colleges hosted for Native American Motivation Days. This provided campus exposure for our Native youth who were pursuing higher education, where they got to meet representatives from local organizations and also from four-year universities.
Before we established the Native American Club, the school worked with our tribes very well to allow us to take our students and it be excused to the local colleges. And we also were taking them to colleges further out, four-year universities. When the Native American Club came on, we were able to, with Benai and Amanda, develop a trip for our students in general at Sonoma State University. And the schools worked with us a lot to give our children this knowledge of what's out there and what they could be attending.
There's a lot of good things that we're talking about, but one of the main foundations is sports. Parents may have not shown up for parent-teacher night. Parents might not show up for back-to-school night in numbers for the Native community, but they show up for their children. They show up when they're in middle school. They show up when they're in Pop Warner. They show up when they're in high school. And so this bridge was offered to us as coaching. So we all played our years there, but it wasn't until another generation came along that said we can actually coach here also. And with that became the kindness and the empathy that we have for all youth and all children, because there were coaches who didn't treat us because they didn't know our background. They didn't know what we were dealing with. They didn't know the hurdles that it took to get to school that day, to fight through the poverty or fight through the fight the night before, the partying that happened at our homes and in our community. So we really struggled to get to school, but a lot of us stayed in sports because that was our activity, that was our outlet, and it was a healthy place to be. So when they got to allow us to coach, and I don't say allow like they finally did, but when we started stepping up to be coaching, then there was a huge connection between our community and all of the youth, not just the Native youth. So here I have cousins that are coaching with us. I have my sister that's on this picture where she coaches. There's another brother and sister combo on here. Like there's just so much connection in our small community, and sports has been a really big wave about that. It even outreached to our youth sports because we could see the contact, in the organized school sports. And so North Shore Youth Club was established to help us try to compete with the other bigger communities here in Lake County. But our youth deserve that too. And so you can see our Native youth starting younger in this system to try to keep them engaged in school and community.
A lot of our youth participate in our cultural events. We have Roundhouse Dance, we have our California Indian Days and our Shakehead Dance, and our youth enjoy that our school supports that. A lot of our teachers come, a lot of our college teachers come to Roundhouse, and they really take pride when they see a teacher come and take time to understand their culture and partake in our events that we hold dearly to us. So it's very important that our schools, they let us have dances at the schools for different events. They participate in the events that we do have between the tribes around the lake.
We do have we collaborate with other entities. This one here is a graduation event with our health consortium. So it's a Native Health Consortium. All the tribes come together to put their IHS money together. And so, and the social service side where I work, there's a picture of me on here, where I would MC the event. We would honor all graduates, whether it be kindergarten, whether it be 8th grade, whether it be high school or college. And we always had a theme for it. We always had speakers. This is obviously pre-COVID, but we wanted to celebrate our educational achievements and there's going to be so much more, but this was a point that our health facility started this a decade ago to make sure that we do honor one and honor all.
So this is our youth outreach uniting tribes through health. We put on a 3-day youth summit annually, softball tournaments, basketball tournaments, and volleyball tournaments. And all of them are focused around challenges that our Native youth face. So we do drugs and alcohol, suicide prevention, and diabetes awareness. Those are just a few topics to mention. And we approach these through cultural practices. And we partner with different entities in our community as well as the Upper Lake School District.
Just recently, Upper Lake School District supported our youth, and it wasn't just Native youth, it was just youth in our school district and in some around of our county that worked with Hope Through Art Foundation. MMIW is big in a lot of our communities, and we have a local family member that has passed on, and we did this mural in honor of her. And it was very thankful through our tribes that our school allowed these children. They spent a week, they learned how to have your own foundation, how to build a business, and they learned every step. And they did majority of the work on this wall, and it was a week-long project that we were very thankful that the school gave our youth that opportunity, because like I said, this is a very big issue in our Native American communities. So this is just a few more of the family of Vanessa putting handprints on the wall. And now we'd like to take a moment of silence for those missing, murdered women and men in our Native communities.
Yes, so I just would like to thank everyone who's watching this webinar and who's learning from us. I'd like to thank Upper Lake School District. And what we'd like to do is have you just think about what's the takeaway, what we want you to leave understanding from this presentation. So we want to highlight just 3 collective focal strategies that our school districts have used that we think are key takeaways if you in your district or in your community are trying to create change and transform. The first step, listen to your community. It starts there. It's so important that any changes being made, the direction your schools or school districts are going in, are grounded and rooted in what your community is telling you that they need. The next step is to take that listening and what you've heard and learned from community to partner with community to do the work to make these changes happen. And then to produce that tangible product. What is it that the community is telling you that they need? We highlighted curriculum. We highlighted ways to build trust and partnership. What does that mean for your particular community? So there isn't one answer for every single community, but we know it starts with listening and taking what you learn and hear and really partnering with community to make those changes within your community. So we're all serving every student and child the way they deserve to be served.
I would like to thank you all for participating in this wonderful webinar. I hope that this information will lead others to success and to be able to reach out and engage their communities. And I would like to thank our hosts, and I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you to Oakland Unified and Upper Lake Unified School Districts for sharing some of the effective community engagement practices you have in place to support students, families, and your community through authentic partnership. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. We hope today's webinar supports you in your community engagement efforts. If you would like to learn more about Oakland Unified and Upper Lake Unified or the Community Engagement Initiative, please visit our website at www.californiaengage.org. Thank you.